Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Keys. Motherhood has its challenges. I'm sure all of you know that. And being a working mom makes it even more difficult. Trying to balance kids, work, family, friends, and personal time. How do you juggle it all? Some people say when you become a mom, your life disappears. However, my panelists today are going to prove that statement wrong. They're going to tell us what it is that they do to juggle being a mom and working at the same time. My panelists today are Frenchie Jones, Italia Colley, Siobhan Johnson, Michaela Ellis, and Brittany Chandler. Good day, ladies. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Good evening.
Good day.
Good evening.
Alrighty, so I'm just gonna throw a few questions out for you all, and please feel free to chime in at any time. So the first question is, what has been your biggest challenge as a mom who works?
I can go first if no one else wants to.
I was gonna say like which one, but I'll let you go first and I'll come back.
How do we jump in?
I tell you, I know for me, I was, and I still feel I'm a recovering workaholic. So there's that mommy guilt about being split. I've always had demanding jobs. I started in public accounting and I was always on a plane. I don't know where I found time to have two children. I was going through labor and on conference call and saying, hold on, go through my contractions and coming back. So I feel that, coming in a culture that sometimes, like when you look at some of your great grandparents, like a woman stayed at home, and like there's a lot that's changed over the years, including being a mother and not necessarily being married. And so you still have to balance and still do all these other things and have a career. So for me, one of the greatest challenges was feeling like I had to choose between being a mother and having a progressive career. And I feel like I started my career in the US and coming back, the substantive part of my career and coming back to the Bahamas, even though we're a matriarchal society, I find the workplace wasn't always flexible for a working mother. They made you feel guilty, like you should have to be 5 times as good to get a promotion because you were a mother, because you won't be present, and just proving that you could do and contribute equivalently even though you were a mom. So that was my challenge.
So I was gonna say that I think that the challenges are many, and oftentimes it seems never ending. I don't think that at this stage in my life, having 2 grown children and having 1 child still at home, that I have surpassed the stages of having challenges. I think for me, the biggest challenge that I had was similar to Siobhan's, because I also dealt with mommy guilt, trying to be ambitious, especially I will say when I was in graduate school. It was extremely hard because trying to work, go to school so that I could further my education, so that I could get a better job as a single mother at the time. That was really hard because the 1 child that I still have at home was younger at that time. And it seemed like I could never catch a break or catch my breath. And I would be very intentional about going and trying to have lunch with her just so I could make sure that I was, still present as a mother. But oftentimes I have found that that presence that you spoke of, Siobhan, actually is not as easy in a professional workspace when you have children, and especially when you're a single mother, or maybe your spouse or your significant other has a demanding job as well. So for me, again, the challenges have been many. I think the biggest challenge, though, if I could put my thumb on the biggest challenge, it would be trying to maintain a sense of self-identity as a mother, and as a professional, has probably been the most difficult challenge that I faced, because I found that my self-identity a lot of times either became really enmeshed with just being a mother or enmeshed with just being a professional. And it's hard to find the balance of trying to be all and do all and take care of self and know who, or remember, I shouldn't say no, but remember who I am at my core, just as Frenchie Jones. So that was probably the biggest and continues to be the biggest challenge. In my older age, I think I'm getting better at it, but that would probably be, and I think many mothers would probably agree with that, like finding that space where you remember who you are is a huge challenge.
I think I have to echo the sentiments of Siobhan and Frenchie, and it's having that work-life balance and maintaining who you are whilst also balancing these two competing interests. I think one of my, I wouldn't say it's a favorite saying because I loathe that it is true, but we are expected to work as if we don't have children, and we're expected to raise children as if we don't work. And balancing the two and learning that, okay, you know what, sometimes there's a give in terms of, you know, the school project and having all the things for the science thing that she's doing tomorrow versus, okay, no, work, you need to take a step back because, you know, we got a Halloween party that we need to prepare for. It's trying to maintain that balance. Because, you know, along with that, I also have my own dreams and aspirations because I want to show her that, you know, I'm women hear me roar and that we can accomplish anything. But, you know, that also requires time. And so I find myself often having a conversation with her, like, we are a team, we're doing this, you know, we're doing this together. You see, mommy is working late, so, you know, I need you not to fight me about bedtime tonight because, you know, I do this so we can pay school fees and that we can go on trips and that we can do all these. So we need to be a team. We need to work together now. You know, how successful I am in the teamwork, that remains to be seen. But, you know, that's the conversation that I have because I'm trying to juggle these balls in the air as a professional, as a mother, as a single mother. And, you know, hopefully I want to get a run in there somewhere. And I also want to, you know, do the other things that I do because, you know, that all makes me me.
It is definitely hard out here in these motherhood streets, I will tell you.
It is rough.
I could also attest to how Frenchie said about, you know, for me, it would be like carving out time for yourself because you're juggling all of these different activities and schedules, and you have to remember, okay, what else I have to do today so you don't leave nothing out. For me, it's basically, like I said, I have a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old. And my 10-year-old has a few activities that she's in. So I have to put that on schedule for me. And I have to leave work at a certain time to get her there. And then you have what I call, you become everybody's secretary. Because you're doing stuff for other people as well. Like your husband or your significant other will call you in the middle of the day and they're like, okay, I'm gonna need you to do this for me. And they looking for you to drop everything to get that down packed for them. And so it's like a lot. Sorry, Frenchie, what did you say?
Everybody in the household expects you to remember everything and be everything and do everything.
This is what I'm saying. I have to remember passwords to work. I got to remember the children's passwords. I got to remember the husband password to his Gmail. And it's like,
and everyone's schedule in between.
I write it all down.
And it's really tedious and it's a little tough. And like I say, it's hard to like kind of carve out time for you where you can say, hey guys, give me a few minutes. Let me gather myself. Let me decompress. Let me read this book. Let me watch this show. let mommy do something for her, you know, and to top it all off, virtual learning.
God, let me tell you, God bless them. God bless them.
So that's my challenges, dealing with virtual learning and everybody else's schedule on top of what I have to do for me.
On top of COVID. As if that isn't enough. So what do y'all do to overcome this challenge? How do you find ways to balance all of this, to juggle every single thing, to keep your head above water and not sink?
But like I said, schedule things out. What I've been doing now is like certain things that I have to remember, certain dates, certain events that are very, very important. I put on a schedule, I put on my calendar on my phone so that I get reminders. I also petition to like my spouse and stuff and say, listen, I'm gonna need you to do this for me today so that I can have time to myself. And then I try to find time in the afternoons, like I say, to decompress for myself, where I like read a book or so, or watch a film. I right now have a book goal of 250 books for the year, and I just hit 215. So I got 35 more books to go.
You can do it. Do it for all of us.
Yes.
That's
I like to just say,
that's awesome.
That is awesome. And I would like to just say that I kind of always refer to myself as like a beautiful mess. Like my whole life is a beautiful mess. It's kind of all over the place. I am not a type A personality, so I'm not good with, you know, writing things down, scheduling things. I'm just not linear like that. I'm just, like I said, just kind of all over the grid. But I am learning at least to help myself overcome some of the challenges, to delegate, to make sure that I set up really good boundaries with my children. As a matter of fact, so funny, I was having this conversation with my middle son last night, and it was a simple conversation. He wanted to use my wireless charger for his ear pods, right? So he comes in my room and he grabs the charger, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, that's mine. Like, you don't get to just take it. So I'm teaching my kids that, you know, yes, over the years, because of mommy guilt and all kind of other things, I may have let you just kind of make me feel guilty, and I just let you use something or do something. But now I'm learning, like, no, like, you know, it's not okay for you to just take my stuff. It's not okay for you to just come into my room and, you know, come in on my time when I might be reading a book like Italian. You just expect me to do something for you. So in my older age, my wiser years, I am learning to form those boundaries. And like I said, delegate, ask for help. I asked my son for help with my daughter. If she has to go to the doctors and I can't make it because I got something at work, I'm like, hey, I need you to take your sister to the doctors and I'll meet you there. So I am learning to do those things, and it does help with the challenges. And I know a lot of times that's hard for us, right? Because it almost seems as if we can't juggle it all, we're failing. I know I struggle with that. I don't know if anybody else on the panel has struggled with that, but I'm learning that it doesn't mean that I am failing if I need help. Right? Because I think was it you, Siobhan, that mentioned, no, it might've been you, Michaela. Am I saying that correctly? Michaela? Okay, Michaela.
Michaela.
Michaela, I'm sorry. Michaela, I think you said, you know, we're not living in like our grandmother's time or the time before that, you know. Oh, it was Siobhan, thank you. We are not living in that time. We're living in times that, honestly, we are super stretched. Like, we are stretching ourselves to the max. And so it's so much more important today, I think, to recognize that help is needed. And that's one of the things that I'm really learning to utilize, like I said, to delegate and to ask for help in my time of need so that I can not be as stressed. because when we're stressed, we're not good to ourselves or to our families. Overly stressed.
I can understand. I've had moments in the past few years where I felt at times where I was so overwhelmed. Like you say, I felt like I was failing, like I was not doing my full potential as a mom. And I felt like I needed to push more. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to be everything they needed me to be and do everything they needed me to do, and at the detriment of depressing myself or depriving myself from things. And it's really rough because moms, and I'm not excluding dads because we have some dads that really go above and beyond, but really and truly, like old people used to say, mommy's baby, daddy's maybe, they with you forever. And they call them mommy first for everything. They go to daddy, but they call for mommy first for everything. Mommy this, mommy that, mommy I need this. Oh, mommy use the boss. Oh no, mommy, the money in your purse. Yes, I've heard it all. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself trying to accomplish all these things that you want for them and to help them succeed in life, because this world out here is not easy. Nothing is handed, nothing is given, and you want the best for your kids. And so you try to, how should I say, like you said, you went back to school to ensure that you had a better career in order for that to provide for them to make it out here. And so you here striving and pushing and going beyond and doing things. I mean, even up to now, you're still pushing and striving and doing things to ensure that they have a better quality of life out here after you leave this world.
I think for me, to answer your question, Keishanice, I don't think I have it handled. I think that I am still struggling in the balance. There are things that I carve out for myself. I wake up in the morning, early in the morning before. I also have a 10-year-old gets up to make sure that I get my workout, to make sure that I get a good sweat. But coupled with working out, you also require periods of recovery. I'm still struggling with that bit. But it is a struggle. I'm still trying to figure it out. I am becoming better at putting things in my phone so that I remember them, because I wear many, many different hats. But I'll give you tonight for a perfect example. For school tomorrow, they are making a Halloween treat, and there are 3 options. You have to pick an option and send the supplies to school. And they're also doing an experiment about the kidney that requires a jar and a coffee filter and a tea bag. And sometimes, I really just want to write the teacher and be like, brah, help a mommy out, darling.
Doing too
You know what I mean? Like every week there needs to be something that obviously requires things that I don't keep in my house. Like, I'm sorry, I don't drink coffee. But sometimes it's just like, I just need a little help. Just cut me a little slack, because this is, yes, I understand, teacher, you're just doing your job and it's not your fault that I have these other things going on. But like, really, can't we just teach the kidney a normal way? But I don't think that I have it handled. There are weeks when I am, great mummy, and we've ticked all the boxes and the homework gets done on time and all that gets done. But, I'm also running late on my submissions for court, and I was supposed to call a client back, but didn't call a client back because my child was having a meltdown over some multiplication tables. So there are some weeks when it's great mummy work, and there's some weeks when it's, great law firm work, and then there's some weeks when there's great secretary of the bar work. It's a give and take. It's a process, and I think that I think that we as women need to be more kind to ourselves and to each other as women, because we understand what's on our plate, and we are often, I think I'm a sandwich generation. I also have parents that, not that I necessarily look after them, but I keep an eye on them and I do things for them. I keep their passwords in my phone too, because I have to remember that for them, I have to remember that for them as well. So it's a process. I hope that I get better at it. Frenchie's given me life goals. I mean, not coming into my room to take stuff. Hello, miss, I aim to get there. But I'm going to ask
boundaries, Mom. Teach them early. Don't wait until they're older like mine.
Well, I will say it's a struggle, but you're giving me hope. I'm going to try. I'm going to keep at it, and eventually my things will be my things. But it's a work in progress. I can't tell you how I balance it, because quite frankly, I think I don't. I carve out time to work out, but I think I need to do better with that. But
you're giving me life goals. You're giving me life goals, because right, because I just started picking up working out again, because I was able to enter into a program at work that allowed me to use work time to work out for an hour 3 times a week.
I want that arrangement.
That works for me, but you are being very disciplined, so you're giving me hope. We're giving each other hope. I really do think there is hope for the future. I think the young people today, they get it, and I do think we're going to see changes in the future for a better work-life balance. So we're showing our kids, we're teaching them, really.
But also, I think that the task is also on us as working women, as we hopefully become more successful, and eventually one day we are the bosses ourselves. And I remember my daughter is 10. So 10 years ago when she was born, I wanted to come in the office early, but leave when it was time to pick her up, take her home, but not have to come back into the office. Let me work from home for that time. And I would have put in my 8 hours. Let me tell you, that was not met with any sort of, oh, that's a good idea. That was like the worst thing that I could possibly ever suggest. And how dare I think that I was going to cheat them out of their time. But thank God for COVID. And now we're all working from home. So, 10 years later, I'm finally getting my wish. But I hope that as we progress, and hopefully many, many years from now, when my child becomes a mother, it's easier for her. In this last, I would say 3 weeks, that's what I've thought about, like in terms of what I want from life and what I want to do. And I think definitely one of the things I want to do is so that when she becomes a mother, she has a workplace that is flexible, and that kind of becomes the norm, because we appreciate that, I am not only your employee or your staff member, I also have a life outside of this that also requires obligations. I used to use this line that, nobody else in the firm is teaching my daughter sight words. I'm the only one here teaching her sight words. And so I can't stay till 7 o'clock to go teach sight words to her at 8 when we're both tired and exhausted. And we, so hopefully 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we would have made a change in the lives of our daughters.
And I think they're going to make a change too. That was kind of the point that I was making. I do think that young people today are saying, no, this is not the way to live. We watched our parents go through this, yes, and we want better. I do see that forthcoming. It's going to be painful before it comes about, as we all know from everything that's going on. I don't know how it is where you all are, but here, the jobs are not being filled, positions are not being filled, everything has slowed down. So I think it will be painful before it gets better, but I have hope that we will have a better work-life balance.
Well, here, Frenchie, I've noticed during the pandemic that a lot of startup businesses have emerged. A lot of entrepreneurship has really emerged during the pandemic, and it has driven or pushed and motivated working persons or unemployed persons to really start something of their own and to become their own bosses. I myself, even though I have a primary job, I also have 2 startup businesses that I've had now for like 10 years. I started when I first had my first daughter And I want to teach her like generational wealth and for her to also know how to manage her finances, because we weren't taught how to really save like that. Everything was, you need to finance this, and a government job is a good job. And you can go to the bank for this. And I really want to teach my kids not to just go to the bank at a whim, and to really save and build for their future and their future kids.
If I could add to the question a little bit, I think if I had to tell a young mother or a new mother or soon-to-be mother, I would say to them, from my experience, and I don't think I was some great mother, because I was reading that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, like it was the Bible, right? But one thing that I lucked out, and I feel like I lucked out, or God blessed me with, was I brainwashed my children. I did not tell them reality. I think sometimes we talk to these kids like they're like it's good to talk to them like they're little people, but sometimes like the truth is overrated. I told my kids cucumber was candy. I told my kids that if you don't give mommy time, mommy's gonna be a mean mommy like the monster. But it registered with them. I think every child is different, but if you tell them something that clicks, and so my kids knew, and I think routine is very important. When I compare myself to some of my friends that complain about the kids, or we be honest, when we break their routine and their structure, like then chaos happens. So my kids knew, come home. Well, first of all, I wouldn't say I lied to my kids, but I tricked them into try and do your homework before I pick you up. So yes, play and all that stuff, but as much as your homework as you can get done, that's more playtime when we get home, right? And when we're home, we could just chill out, So I kind of did that. Like, that was just like, I was being like a child. Like, I just tried to trick my kids. Like, that was my formula. I want to outsmart you. My kids were very cerebral. I felt like I constantly had to outsmart them. Like when I grew up, we did what our parents said. My kids, I felt like it was more a mental game than anything. But by 7:30, like I'm not a nocturnal person. Like I'm not a late night. I can't do that like up till 10 o'clock doing homework thing. That's not me. By 7:30, I want you done with dinner, time for prayers, time for reading, bed by 8. Now I was blessed that my kids were good sleepers. Not all kids are like that, but that's a structure that I put in place with them, right? Even when I wasn't there, they still did it. My son used to take himself to bed when the time hit. Go ahead.
Yvonne, I have a question. So how did that work as they got older? Because my kids were like that too when they were younger. But honey, them teenage years, especially with my daughter,
I'm going through that now. So I have a 13 and a 15-year-old who just like, my son is in Florida, my daughter's here now. He was here until he was 12. But they both told me the same thing last Monday. Oh, I don't brainstorm when it's time to write anymore. Like, I don't do that. And I still get A's. And I'm like, what? Like, don't do that. Like, so it's like, they've changed. Like everything, like they would sing practice makes perfect. Oh, it's all out the window. Oh, no. I'm smarter than you guys. Y'all still gonna, no, I'm going through that right now. So I always make a distinction. So sorry. When they were younger, we had this down. Now they're teenagers. And I don't know what I'm going through, but it's clearly a phase. My daughter, who used to kiss me, wait at the door for me, do a dance when I walk in, doesn't want to kiss mommy. I have to jump on her and kiss her. And I'm just a big proponent of like showing affection and love to a child in the home. And like, it's like, it makes me almost want to cry. Like, she doesn't want to touch me,
Another child. Like, where did my child go? Who is this child? What happened?
Yeah, like they change. But the other thing is like my status on WhatsApp is this quote from Elizabeth Gilbert, I think is her name. Embrace the glorious mess than you are. And what you said, Frenchie, just totally related to that. I was like, oh, you need to take this quote because like that sounds like it's you. Because we are so hard on ourselves. The one Mother's Day, they had something where they're like, hang up your Superwoman cape. And I was like, so that is a part of my answer to the question. Like, I learned to hang up my Superwoman cape. I'm like anal about cleaning dishes. I had to give that up and say, you know what? Once a week, it's okay to have someone come and do the laundry, help with the cleaning, because I wanted to do it, but it's just too much, you know?
It's too much. You speaking to my heart.
It's too much. Like, you know, I have relatives, like they just do it all. They have the career, their house is perfect. Like, and I'm like, wow, I don't know how you do that. Like, how you do that. It's just so much, you know, but giving ourselves, and like Michael has said, like, I know the part of my day that is within my control, and that's early in the morning before the kids get up. At the end of the day, I don't know what's going to go wrong at school. I don't know when I'm going to have to work late. And so I try as much as I can to give me time, meditation, walking, exercise in the morning. Socially, I need like, shall I be out? I mean, not wild or anything, but I need that mental break. I have a very cerebral job, always have. I'm a very attentive mother. I give my all to anyone I love. So I need to laugh. I need to like not think too hard. Like sometimes I just go out just to people watch, like just to let my mind let go, you know? And so I think it's very important that we have me time and that families are supportive of that and not judgmental. That, you know, mommies need that break. Like it's nothing in particular. We're not looking for anything. We just need a change in scenery and downtime. So I take it, you know,
I mean, it's extremely important. Extremely. I mean,
yeah.
My daughter at least one night of the week, probably 2 nights of the week, sleeps over at my parents' house because, you know, sometimes we need a break from each other. And you know, I think that is healthy.
And lastly, I think in the workplace, it's important. I'm not gonna lie, it was disappointing to me because the Bahamas is such a matriarchal society. I worked at Ernst & Young, E&Y, American Express, and Citi for progressive companies, but also companies that have these reputation for being like crazy places to work, like you work so much, right? And they've moved to flexible work arrangement. They've moved to, you know, employee retention plans that arrangements that keep talent in the workforce, because they started to lose a lot of women as they climbed the ranks. So they wanted to know, well, why aren't more women cracking this glass ceiling? And when they looked, it was because women felt so pressured to choose between family, health, interests, and work. So when I came back home to the Bahamas, there's predominantly female in the workplace. It doesn't matter who is on the top. And even when I look at that referendum and that was passed, it just seems as if the culture of women supporting women in that way is not there where it matters in terms of us not judging each other in the workplace. And like, I hate people, like there's different ages and generations in the workplace. Like I hate people paying attention to the way people look and the way people want to work, the times they want to start versus productivity. So I feel a huge part of what we need to do as mothers is when we're present in the workplace, lobby for arrangements that betters all of us and be that voice that says, I could still contribute, I'm still a valuable employee, and I'm a mother. And don't shy away from, I'm a mother and I'm sorry. Certain times you can call me, I'll be accessible, but if my kids are asking me, I have to get back to you. And like, we don't do that. We would tell our kids we're busy and pay attention to work. So we got to be careful with that. So that's some of the stuff that, like I said, or like Michael has said, like I haven't perfected it all, but I have spent a lot of time changing it. Because one day my daughter told me, Mommy, I know you're stressed out and you're busy, but could you play with me? You know, and like, that was like a life-changing moment for me because I didn't want my child to ever feel I was so busy or so stressed out that I couldn't cater to her needs, because clearly she had a need, whatever that was. So I think that we definitely need to make time for balance.
Yeah, and I love what you said about that advocating in the workplace. And it is necessary. It really is. Because I found myself very stressed out yesterday trying to juggle work, but my daughter also needed to go to the doctors for something very important. her appointment was canceled and rescheduled for a later time, which I had not put leave in for. And it was just a very stressful time because I needed to be at work, but I also needed to be there for her. And so I agree with you. We definitely need to make sure that we're advocating. And unfortunately, many women come off the way you described because they are used to societal pressures and a work environment that has always looked down on women who have children and are trying to excel in the workplace.
There was a quote I saw on an article I saw on Instagram, and I was trying to look for it. But one of the things they talked about was that, you know, as Black women, we have been so, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, but meant to think that we're supposed to do everything and we're supposed to handle everything, that we are these superior beings. And when we don't, we feel anxiety and depression because we feel like we are failing because we aren't these superhuman people that are doing absolutely, you know, everything and juggling everything, because that's, you know, what us strong Black women are supposed to do. We're supposed to multitask and do all of these things. And we need to re-examine what the conversation is and what the image of you know, it's okay to struggle. It's okay if you don't have it all together.
I agree with you, Michaela, because it was a little tough for me at one point where I used to feel guilty about if I should purchase something for me because I knew I could have spent that somewhere else. I could have something else with it. The kids needed this, or the house needed that, and I really wanted this item, and I would bypass it and still go and do something for the kids or something for the house. And my husband was like, "No, you need to. If you want that, get it. You need to focus sometimes on doing some of the stuff for you because you're doing everything else for everybody else."
I tell you, I have to say, I am still there. That is, unfortunately, that is still where I am. And it is such so filled with anxiety for me now, because, you know, if I purchase this, I know the week after something's going to come up and she's going to need this, and there's going to be this expenditure, and I'm going to immediately regret spending, you know, that money on something that, you know,
you're
really
always thinking 10 steps ahead as to say, okay, some emergency is gonna arise. And if you don't have it, how is it gonna get done? Because everybody is leaning on you. And waiting on you.
I have to say, like, I'm the opposite of that, because I was a single mom. I had a lot of guilt. So I actually have done a lot for my child, even so much so to the point where some of my friends and family have said, you know, why are you doing so much? You're putting so much emphasis on giving her everything, and not necessarily maybe putting some of those resources in another place. That's where I'm at. Right? That's the other dynamic when you have children and you're a mother, maybe a single mother, maybe you've had failed relationships that have, you know, produced children. It is just a real raw reality of what happens sometimes. I know that I give to my child as much as I do because I love her, because she's great in a lot of ways, but a lot of it does have to do with compensating as well. And then it kind of goes back to what you were saying about not wanting to look like you failed in any way. And that even pertains to relationships, right? That, like I said, have produced children. You feel almost like a failure as a mother when the relationship didn't work. And so sometimes we will overcompensate for our children. And I don't think it's all bad, but it's definitely not a good thing either.
I'm a single mother. I was married and now I'm divorced, but I'm also an attorney. And one of the patterns, I do a lot of divorces, but one of the patterns that I see, people get divorced and they say, okay, well, maybe I was a crappy husband or a spouse, but I am an awesome parent. And so then they turn into like #1 parent of the year, an award winning, and you see that overcompensation in the children, because now you're trying to show the world, I may have failed in my relationship, but I am
the best
parent ever. So yeah, no, it's, these motherhood streets are rough.
And just to chime in a little bit about what all of you would have already said, piggybacking, I do agree that, balance is extremely important, and drawing boundaries is extremely important. I still have, I guess this is a part of being a mom, the whole natural nurturers that we are, just wanting to make sure that everyone is straight, because I still go to the store and, just like Italia said, pick up for everyone else. And it's like, okay, Kay Shanice, you went inside the store to get yourself something. Why are you coming out with 3 bags of children's clothing? So I'm learning how to balance that. But what I've started doing, at least may have been 2 years now, as my kids are getting older, I tell them that mommy needs her time. So they're beginning to understand that, okay, mommy is taking a long time in the bathroom. She has candles lit. She's loving herself. Or mommy's having a glass of wine, because she has to fill up her cup before she can pour into anyone else. And, I think it's important that we allow our kids to realize that, we must love ourselves first. It's not selfish to put yourself first so that you can take care of everyone else, because it helps them to, have a better appreciation for taking care of themselves in the future. So they're basically learning from us, how it is that they should parent, or what should they do in relationships or as adults. So boundaries are extremely important. I don't know if we as moms would ever go in the store and not purchase something for a child. Like, even if it's a candy bar, at least a treat, some kind of thing. I think that's just us as moms. But, just letting them know that, okay, mommy is still important too. Mommy still has needs. Mommy still needs her time. Like one of the moms mentioned, reading a book. I still want to read a book or watch some Netflix or do absolutely nothing, after a long day. And children, they're smarter than we think, and they catch on really, really fast. And, I think it's important to sometimes be real with them, let them know that mommies are humans. We sometimes make mistakes. We apologize, we may have been a little rough on you, but let me apologize, just to let them know that we don't have to be perfect. No one is perfect. I just thought I would, slip in there a little bit. I put in my little 5 cents. So another question, how do you stay grounded? Where do you find your strength in being a mom, being a working mom, having so much on your table? How do you stay grounded? How do you stay motivated?
I can go. It's going to sound cliche, but my strength in God and my strength in my ancestors, my grandmothers, and I'm fortunate enough to know their stories and what they have done and what they have dealt with. And I believe that I come from strong women, and therefore I just gotta dig deeper. I think going through divorce also helped me to.
I agree with Michael. It's the same for me. I have a relationship with God, and I talk to him daily. And one of my prayers to him religiously is, these are your children, and I give them back to you, and you're going to help me to take care of them, to educate them, to clothe them, to keep me in my right mind as I go through my day, throughout my week, throughout my month, so that I don't explode or feel overwhelmed, because sometimes that can happen too, where you're so stressed and you're so overwhelmed, you have a meltdown and you blow up at the kids for no reason, for some little small issue, and then you have to go back and apologize because you catch yourself. I'll be like, no, mommy really didn't mean to say what she said. But you have to also explain to them that, you know, mommy needs to have a moment to herself, and you can't overwhelm me with all of your needs. But mommy's here for you, and she's always here for you. But I stay grounded with God, and I talk to older people who have kids, who do the same struggles that I do. People, even I have friends who are single mothers as well. I put myself in their shoes sometimes, and I say, Lord, I don't know how they doing it with more than 2 kids. Because some single parents have 5 kids, and they gotta keep it all together. Lord knows, I don't know how they did it through this pandemic. And so I try to stay prayed up and keep him in my daily life.
You know what? I think for me, the way that I stay grounded is remembering the things that I like and love to do, whether it's in work or whether it's in, you know, my social life. I like to get away. I like to go on trips by myself, or without the kids, or with the kids sometimes, but without the kids. Another way that I stay grounded, this is a prime example, just connecting with other women and just talking about the challenges and talking about the strengths, because it helps to remind you that you're not alone. Because a lot of times when you're going through challenges, you can really feel like you're alone, or it's an isolated incident. I was just saying in my house, I'm like, I hope y'all are listening, because it ain't just me. So, you know, that's a way to stay grounded. And of course, you know, having something to focus on, to manifest what you want to see in your house, in yourself, in your children. But I'm not going to lie and say I'm always grounded, because, you know, unfortunately, we are oftentimes products of our environments or generations before us. And we all know that the way we were raised is not necessarily like how we try to raise our kids today. And so I know for me, I often have to tell my daughter, because she'll tell me, you're a counselor, you're not supposed to do that. And I have to tell her, but before I was a counselor, you know, this is how it was. And sometimes people could just push you back there, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to say that I'm always grounded, but I'm always striving and trying to connect with myself and with others. And I just want to say, and forgive me, Kasha, I always call you Kashanese. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly or not. Forgive me, because I know I hate to butcher my name, but this was wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this discussion, because I think we should probably do this more often to help remind each other, like I said, that we're not alone, that we have these challenges, that it's okay that we have these challenges, and that we're not failing, because we do oftentimes feel that way, and we need to have these reminders.
I can add, I feel that I'm grounded. I had to go through a process to learn to live in the present. Like I went through a meditation series, Deepak Chopra and Oprah. I think it's still out there on the internet. I think it's excellent. It was 21 days meditating about living in the present, because the way we're trained, we're always, especially mothers, right? We're serial multitaskers. We got to balance everything. We got to plan everything. I have a cousin, Takaya. I don't know how, she is so organized, right? Like I'm sometimes like that, but other times I just got to go with the flow. But one of the things that living in the present teaches you is like, don't worry about the past. Don't be overly focused about the future. Just enjoy the day. And I feel that we lose so much of enjoying today, including our children, our moments, like being grateful at what we have in life, because we're just overly thinking about what happened in the back and what's happening in the forward. So for me, I had to teach myself that, I, like most of us have expressed, we're still a working journey as mothers. The other thing for me in terms of being grounded is like, I come from a family of such wonderful matriarchs. Like, I'm not going to lie. I don't even have to look outside my family. I feel blessed that I could look at my family and just find examples of women who've gone through painful divorces, women who have been exposed to abuse, like women who didn't probably always have enough money to make ends meet, but they made it happen. Like, I have so many examples, women that excelled. Like, so for me, I feel like, for me and my family, it's like an example that I have that like, I can't even picture, like, as professional as I am, I always say, like, if I lost my job, I'll go work at Wendy's. Like, I think it's a mindset, like, we're going to eat, like, I think it's a mindset that you always know that you'll be okay. And I think, obviously, I grew up in Salem Baptist. I could go to whatever other church, but I know that between Baptist Bible and Salem Baptist, they definitely grounded me that spirit of community, that spirit of being one with God. No matter what you go through, you'll always come out all right on the other side. So like, no matter what I've gone through, like I was all right in the end. No matter what I was when I was in the valley, I always knew that I would make it to the other side because of my spiritual belief. I do a lot of charitable work. And I think it's a huge thing not to say, oh, I'm doing better than someone else. But I think when you give to someone or you help someone who is not in the same position as you, you learn to appreciate more every day. And then lastly, it's the weirdest thing, but I focus on death. Like, I love to watch the obituaries and look at the obituaries, not to say, do I know this? No, that person didn't make it today. I have another chance. So it is something that, when I'm disappointed about career, I'm disappointed about relationships, even with my kids, like when I'm like, how much I invested in you, every mother feels that, right? When they bring home a bad grade, and you're like,
oh yes, I feel it. Honey. Yes, all that money I spent, all that time.
Yeah. I thought I was going to have a commission last report card.
You just like, it makes you so grateful. Like, my kids don't have any disabilities, right? They frustrate me sometimes when they don't do their best, but they don't have disabilities. My son loves to read. Like, what boys love to read? My daughter's teaching herself Korean. Like, I'm still like, in the scheme of things, when she should be thinking about boys, and I got to fight with her about boys on my daughter, like, they're home, like, just hanging out. Like, so then I have to like you say, be grounded in that, pick your battles with these teenagers and just be appreciative that they're good children and just continue to mold them and don't give up. The only last thing I'd like to say is I do not believe in moving the bar. I think like even this week, there was something published about a new grading scheme. I do not support it. I feel like we should not move the bar. I feel like if there's a child with a speech disability, a reading disability, a writing disability, we should supplement what they're getting in the classroom because they can perform. So that helps me too. I strongly believe in excellence at whatever level. It's just a matter of with support we all give each other to be better. So whatever the source is for that, whatever your weak area is, try and tune into, finding that thing that builds up your weakness. Don't surround yourself. Like, I don't like pity parties. I don't want to surround myself with people. Like, this one thing to vent as mothers, it's another thing to have pity parties. So like, I would not, when I'm feeling my lowest, be around people that are making me still feel that low. I want people to lift me up. So all of that kind of keeps it together when I keep it together, because none of us are perfect. So just
I think it's confirmation that I need to hire the housekeeper and maybe an organizer to help me keep my schedule straight. I think it's confirmation. Thank you.
Yes. And lastly on that too, like when you value your time and you calculate like, okay, I think the going rate for a day, at least here, is like $70, $80, I think. When I think about that $70, $80 versus peace of mind, I don't have to iron, I don't have to wash once a week, like, and what we give back to ourselves, yeah, Let's have that fun. Thank you, Kay Shanice, as well. It's been nice sharing and hearing and being encouraged.
Yes, it's always great having that positive energy in the room with women. And, you know, they're not bickering about each other or gossiping about each other, but rather trying to uplift each other. So it makes my heart smile just having all of you here. I do have a mom's WhatsApp group. If you are interested, I'll, you know, send you all the information after all of this. But I'm very grateful to have all of you on. I hope that the moms listening, they would be inspired and uplifted, you know, by hearing all of your stories, because we're not in it alone. You know, everyone or some persons out there, they put on a whole superhero mask, but the reality is none of us are perfect. You know, we all have different things that we struggle with. Motherhood for sure is not easy. I can tell you that as a mom of multiple kids, every single one of them are different. And just like it was mentioned, you try to understand or try to figure out, like, where did my child go? You know, I just had this nice little 10-year-old who used to come and give me hugs, and now there's no smile, no, I love you, mommy. You have to basically beg for it or run behind them for it. And so, you know, they're just growing into their own little personalities, and you just have to kind of find a way to embrace it. You know, like you say, be present, try not to dwell too much on the past or what coulda, shoulda, but you know, wasn't. So we are going to close out, but before we do, I just want you all to leave the moms listening with one tip or word of advice. If there's one thing that you can leave with them, what would it be?
Kay Shanice, Bashan is here. Did I say that correctly? And I haven't heard anything from Bashan. So I was just wondering if maybe she had something.
Oh, me?
To offer. Yes.
Brittany.
Oh, Brittany, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just saw your name on there. Sorry.
I'm like, did she add an accent? Do it have no? So to answer that, the last question, I was going to say what keeps me grounded is my daughter. I have a kindergartner, so she's still in the bubbly stage, but she has something offered to her at 5 that I never had from 5 to 10 or 12. And they have therapy for kids, for separated parents. They have like a lot of programs for them now. So she's telling me to count to 10 and calm down. And, you know, so she keeps me grounded and helps me pull it in, you know, and it's for her. And it's a reminder about that rat race. You know, she's not going to self-destruct before I figure this out, before I recuperate, before, you know, she's okay. Now let me go be okay. And I don't have to tell her about me time. She sent me away. So, you know, it's a different, you know, realm we're dealing with. We speak so much about mental health. We have so much access to being grounded. Like, it's just at our fingertips now. And the kids, their teachers, music class, everywhere they are now, as little people, they get some type of anxiety or relief or some type of sensory, you know, they are more developed than we were at 5. So she's my life coach. And and yeah. And the one tip I would leave moms listening is the kids are all right. They all right.
If I can give my one tip, it would have to be a combination of two. Time, you can never get that time back. That when your kids are young, you know, spend that time with your children. Fight for that time with your children. Move your world around to be with your children. And the second would be routine. I've read about some of the most successful people in the world. And when I read about some of the better ones who had really good relationships, and these are people that are pulled left, right, and center, they maintain those routines with their kids, like the summer vacations, the dinner time at 7, and I just feel like children always remember how you make them feel. Like people, grown adults, talk about words that their second grade teacher said to them. And what do you think about parents who they're supposed to love? So those routines and pouring that positive voice, what you say to your children, they remember. So, I think that, like, take family vacations, like go to the same place every year, like create some sort of, I think it helps ground that individual when they grow up, because it's something that even if you're gone, they hold on to. So that would be my my advice.
So I think I'm gonna go in a little bit of an opposite direction of Sherman, because I do think that is very important, especially in our more youthful parenthood, or when the children are younger. As they get older, as we all try to progress, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to maintain those routines. So what I would say is to just love yourself and love your children. Just acknowledge that you're doing the best that you can with what you have and what you can do, because everybody's situation is different. And so you may have a mother out there that's working 2 and 3 jobs, but just love yourself and love your children. If you love yourself, you're going to go far. If you love your children are going to go far. And I think that's the thing that you really, really have to remember.
Well, for me, my advice would be, with everything that's going on, this has been a hot topic all across the world and in society right now about mental health. And if you're not good, then your kids won't be great, because you're their rock and you're their foundation that they stand on. So make sure that you take care of yourself and you do self-care and you carve out time for yourself, as well as, like Siobhan says, you spend time with them, you go outside. Everything is not about technology. You go outside with them, you play hopscotch. You used to do it. You play hopscotch, you spin the top, you do some double dutch. I don't know how to double dutch. I know how to jump rope, but you do some double dutch and take a lot of pictures and videos. Those are memories that you will have forever, that they can go back to and say, look at me and mom doing this, and they can show their kids. And so that's my advice.
My advice to mothers watching: forgive yourself. You're not going to be able to do everything, and that is okay. Piggyback on what Frenchie said, the kids will be fine. Forgive yourself. Don't ride yourself, it does not have to necessarily be perfection. So take it easy on yourself. Forgive yourself. That's important.
Hey, Shanice, can I add one more thing? Not for that, but like,
definitely.
I feel that, like, I've learned when Bahama was being built, I learned that my grandfather was a man that raised horses and ran horses at Hobby Horse. And, I'm learning so much about my own family history. And it's so sad that our children are not learning where they came from. We go to our house and we make it so picture perfect, but like they don't see where they come from. And I think not only should we take pictures and keep those memories, but we should show our kids where they come from. Like put pictures on the wall and let the kid, I think it helps their self-image to know what they came from. And I think that if you walk into a lot of Bahamian homes today, like we're not showcasing our family and reinforcing to our children their identity. And so now with all this screen time, some of them are getting lost of who they are and what they came from. I mean, they're grounded and all that, but I think it really helps for them to see happy faces, even in a broken family, right? Like if you put pictures of the daddy's family and pictures of the mommy's family, they just see love, like they just see happiness. Like they don't, eventually I think it neutralizes the bad. And I just would like to encourage all of us to put up more pictures for our children to see.
That's so true. Every single tip that you all gave, I must say, a mom listening, just compiling all of that would do an awesome job. And, you know, just to piggyback as well off of what Brittany would have mentioned with the kids being okay. I think sometimes we're so focused on being this perfect parent. We're so focused on not making a mistake, not messing up, you know, not doing our kids injustice, that we don't realize the fact that we're trying to be that perfect person or that perfect parent. We are doing the best that we can. And that makes us awesome moms, you know, because of the fact that we want to be so great. It makes us an awesome mom. So I just want to encourage all of the moms listening, you know, encourage them and let them know that you're doing your best. Don't give up. Your children are counting on you. They are appreciating you for who you are and all that you're doing, and they will be okay. You know, just continue being present, being there. It's not always about the money, you know, but the time. Like Siobhan mentioned, that's something that you can get back. That time, once it is gone, you cannot get that back. So spend as much time as you can with your kids. Take as many pictures. I always tell new moms, take as much pictures as you can of your children, because one minute they will be a newborn, the next minute they will be 18 years old. And so, you know, it's really important just to do your best. Like Michaela said, just forgive yourself. You know, you're not perfect, but you are perfectly imperfect for your kids. You're perfectly imperfect to fit that job that you were given, that you were blessed to be that mom. So, you know, be encouraged. I hope that, you know, everyone listening has been uplifted. They have been enlightened, and also the wealth of knowledge that they will use it for the best, you know, to become that parent that they have always dreamed of becoming. And I just want to thank you, ladies, so much for coming on, taking your time. I know after work, you would probably want to just sit back and do nothing or watch some Netflix or, you know, go and deal with the kids. So I just want to thank you all for taking the time out to come on the show, to come and, you know, encourage other women. I appreciate all of you. I just want you all to, you know, continue being the best moms that you can be. And for those tuning in, if you haven't already done so, please like, share, and comment. Let me know what else you would like to have discussed, what other topic you want me to bring to the table. And also check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. That's K. Shanice Hanna, wife, mom, mogul. Thank you. In the meantime and between times, stay safe and be blessed.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.